This is our final evening together. So final evening is a perception. So it is. But it has an effect. And then first evening has a perception. And that which has the nature to arise has a nature to cease. It's the law of Dhamma. Everyone's been very, very kind to me and Daniel, so we're really, really grateful for all your kindness. I get so much medicine now that I'm afraid to sneeze. I think someone's going to call the ambulance. No, seriously, I am grateful. I've eaten lots of propolis lollies, so my throat is not getting better, it's getting old. And old age does that. It ruins your throat, among other things. I'm a kind of jokey guy at times, as you noticed, but obviously I'm very serious about this work, and to see people putting forth effort and being dedicated to this is just always inspiring and rewarding. So, what to think of as you return to your ordinary lives? One of the things Luang Por Sumedho used to say at the end of a retreat, he said, give everything up. Give up all your samadhi, all your bliss, anything. Because if you hold on to anything, you're going to suffer. And the path of non-suffering is non-grasping, not holding on to anything. So if you start to approach the Don Valley Parkway, or the 401 or whatever, and you start thinking, oh, here it comes. And anxiety feels this way. Anticipation feels this way. Or you're in a very cacophonic situation, and well, this isn't the same as Parry Sound? Or what's the name of the lake? Newell? Newell Lake. I looked it up on Google Maps. It's really isolated, aren't you? Anyway, it's not the same. Of course it's not the same. It can't be the same, right? So the whole idea of the Four Noble Truths is, and the whole path, I would say in Buddhism, is letting go. Not acquiring, not attaining, not getting some experience, because all experience that you get changes. And that basic insight is intelligence, just intelligence. So if you look at something like stream entry, people say, oh, I want to attain stream entry. Well, what is that? It's the abandonment of Sakkaya Ditthi. It's a letting go, personality view. When fear rises, if fear is known as fear, there's no personality view. If fear is grasped as mine, then there's thoughts. Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? That's Sakkaya Ditthi. So you drop that. And that's not an attainment. That's intelligence. Silabbata Paramasa, you let go of Silabbata Paramasa, cultural attachments, what a woman should be, what a man should be, what a Buddhist should be, and all the things we read about so many, our identities as human beings are all built up through cultures, rituals, and all of that, and those identities are simply constructs, they're just sankharas. So let go of all the identities. Silabbata Paramasa, that's a letting go, that's not an attainment. And then vicikicca, doubt, let go of doubt. In other words, stop thinking. There's just a lot of thinking. Let go of doubts. It's not an attainment. And then if you look at Four Noble Truths, the making conscious the way things are isn't an attainment. It's not like you're getting a special experience. You're just intelligent enough to know this experience is this way. Making conscious, it's not finding something called awareness. He says, no, this moment is like this. So it's letting go of preoccupation. Second Noble Truth, that there's a cause, there's an attachment to desire, and that has to be let go of. You have to let go of attachment to desire. That's not an attainment, that's a letting go. The realization of cessation, actually noticing the thought, the end of a thought, actually noticing the end of an attitude of becoming, noticing the end of proliferation or What's the word I use? Preoccupation. I change my words around. It's seeing how that ceases. Seeing the sense of resistance ceasing. That's the noble truth, cessation. That's not an attainment, that's intelligence. And the intelligence comes from observing the way things are. Not trying to get something different. Anything you get, you lose. Because it's born and it dies. Any experience. So that's why Luang Por Chah always, when he's asked, let go a little, you get a little bit of peace. Let go a lot, you get a lot of peace. And it's very, very true. Just in terms of samadhi, just letting go of thought, letting go of grasping, letting go of becoming, letting go of all that stuff. The mind calms by itself. You don't have to do it. You're just letting go. So, in terms of how you practice, I mean, that's the way it seems to me it's set up. It's a letting go rather than a becoming. And that's the only way that makes sense, because that's the only thing that could tune into something which is not conditioned. So we say, Santitiko, Akaliko, Ehipasiko. The Dhamma is here now, not a matter of time, to be realized each for themselves. Not a matter of time. So as soon as I enter into a time-bound mindset, I have to find something. I've lost the Dhamma, that can't be. I have to realize something. I have to sort something out. That's always the future. But the awakened mind is just, well, it was this way. So in terms of lifestyle, as a meditator, one tries to, that's a lovely window. You don't notice it. It's very Distraction feels like this. So in terms of lifestyle, in terms of meditation, the attitude of mind is one of, maybe it's too strong, but affectionate attention to all things. Allowing all things to arise, allowing all things to cease. And why I use affection there, which is a way of talking about metta, it's that openness of mind which sees that all conditions are natural. So horrible kind of mood of revenge is natural. It's not unnatural. And a beatific vision of all the devas streaming through that window, I've never seen. So I don't know if it's natural or not. But whatever happens, even if it's psychic phenomena, they're just the parts of nature. They come and they go. So the mind, which is really free, it seems to me, is one that accepts the extremes. Both the ugly, the really embarrassing in your own mind. We never show off about our jealousies, do we? Oh yeah, I had a really good jealousy yesterday. If you go to the interview, you go to the monk and say, wow, I had 6 jealousies. That was really... No, you talk about the refinement of your samadhi. We're never proud of that. But they're a part of it. It's not wrong. And so the liberation of the mind is always done in context of right living. And in terms of right living, well, something which is unskillful and would lead to the harm of yourself and others, you accept it, but you bear witness to it patiently until it ceases. So acceptance is not condoning and not following and not attaching, but it's not repressing either. So it arises and it's unpleasant, but no, this is not for my good or for the good of anyone else. Just be patient. Maybe you want to speak out, no, this is not for my good or for others. I'll be patient. Which isn't a rejection. It's just knowing this is a Dhamma which is akusala. It's unwholesome in where it might lead you, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong to feel revenge, because it's not you. It really isn't. It might feel like you want to hurt someone, but it's not really you, because it's just the stream of consciousness has been conditioned in that way. So then the acceptance of it is done within the parameters of dana and sila. So that's wholesome. We know this, but it's always good to remember. if I have a wholesome impulse, which is for your benefit of mine, then that, explore that, encourage that, refresh that a lot. So then the tendencies of egotism and selfishness die away, because they're only there if you fuel them through repression or indulgence. And then the energies of like a bodhisattva or the Brahma Viharas and things like that, they're enhanced, they're encouraged. But the openness of the mind then accepts all things, rejects none. So if you feel threatened by a mindset, then you could see that the practice would be to welcome it. But if you indulge in a mind, so let's say I feel, okay, let's start like a gross thing like revenge. Feeling of wanting revenge comes up, memory hits me, they did this to me, they did that to me, they did this to me, did that, I'm never going to forgive them, blah, 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 blah. That comes up, you welcome it. Oh, this is what revenge feels like. But you don't create a self around it. But if the revenge, and I keep talking this way, the revenge then manifests as a plot, how you're going to actually do it, and how you're going to fulfill it, and you think about it, then don't go there. So let go of the thinking. And that's what Sakkaya Ditthi is, personality view. Sakkaya Ditthi is taking it personally and creating a sense of self around it. So either it's a repressive Sakkaya Ditthi, I shouldn't be that way, this terrible, terrible, terrible person, or I'm never going to forgive them, but it's all a sense of self, ego from thought. That's all it is, thought. So let go of the thought, but welcome the moment. And that's where metta is a larger, it's like you were saying about the pain. You said, may my pain be well and happy. That's exactly what we do. You feel pain. The natural thing is resistance to pain. So you counter that with metta. May the sorrow be well and happy. You do that with fear or with revenge. So the revenge comes up and your intuitive impulse as a good Buddhist, culturally good Buddhist, only Buddhists, we never have revenge, we never do revenge, we always forgive, I want to kill. And it doesn't compute, it's not matching what's going on. Well, it's just that you have a kind of cultural position, which is a good position. I'm not saying it's a bad position, but how do you fulfill that? Is when you accept that the liberation of these negativities is through full consciousness, not through repression, and not through self-identity, because it's not yours, not me, not mine, this is not who I am. So that's the kind of practice you want to bring into daily life in terms of lifestyle, being responsible, keeping sila, and practicing Dhamma. And these are general categories. But I think what would be really, really helpful when you return, if you don't already do it, to have a really strong morning meditation practice. And I do mean more than 15 minutes. Because if you can, get to sleep a bit earlier and not stay on the internet too late and get up early and get at least an hour in. And I know it's hard. I know life can be very busy and there's too much stuff to do, but if you can get a strong practice in the morning, then that sets your mind up for the right attitudes, for the whole practice of what you're doing. And if there's any kind of material floating around which is conflicting or difficult at work or whatever, that comes up in the morning meditation. And you say, oh yeah, that's where the attachment's going to be today. That's where it's kind of lingering. So you get a kind of, through the meditation, not through any deliberate intention, but just by being aware and remembering your insights that you've had, all of that then informs the day. If you don't do that, of course, you say you're going to wake up at 7, you wake up at 7:15, and then you're brushing the teeth, and your mind's a mess before you even start. And so then if the mind is got any negativity, it ricochets to the next event, to the next event, to the next event. So morning practice is very, very important, very important. If you can invest in it, and like a serious investment, I would say, if you can do it. And that pays great dividends if we're doing a financial analysis. And you also feel good. You feel you're fulfilling that aspiration. There was he was a lawyer in Manchester, I think. And his family were anti his meditation. I don't know if they were born again Christians or something, but anyway, if he tried to meditate at home, his kids would throw tennis balls at him. Like, hey, Dad. So then he built himself, he had a cupboard in his office, and he built himself a wee meditation room in the cupboard. And he'd go to work early, and he'd do a good meditation in his little cubicle. And then if he was getting stressed out, he'd tell his secretary, just tell people I'm on a call or something like that. And he'd go in for half an hour. So he's very creative, kind of meditating in that way. The thing about meditation, if you're not trying to attain something, you're informing yourself of what's going on. You're awakening to what's going on, and that prevents you from doing something really foolish in the next moment, and the next moment, the next moment. You keep doing that, you get better and better at it. Now, it's easy for me to say because monastic life has that built into it. That's not the reason I ordained as a monk. I don't know why I ordained as a monk, actually. Still trying to figure out it. But I was certainly wonderstruck that, oh yeah, there's this lovely structure, morning and evening meditation. Lay life is different, it's more difficult that way. So then also groups of meditators, creating a kind of lay sangha is very helpful. Kalyana Mitta, very helpful. Listening to talks, very helpful. So you need a lot of reminders. They're not that difficult, these things, but the delusions of the mind are really what are difficult. They're the things that tend to overwhelm us. Also, I've always found it to make the kind of work we do interesting is to cultivate themes and then kind of program the mind to have sati around a particular theme. Because sati usually implies a theme with it, so it could be awareness of change, say, sati with the perception of change. So that's not just functional awareness in the sense that be careful on the steps that you don't fall. I mean, obviously we need that, but it actually has a kind of Dhamma theme or perspective to it. And if you remind yourself of that, then, and that's the main theme we have in Buddhism, the three characteristics, well, no, it's part of it, then your perspective is always from a Dharma viewpoint. So Ajahn Chah, as I said earlier in the retreat, his emphasis was always on uncertainty. So he wouldn't use change, he would use uncertainty. And then he would encourage us to do it, super constantly. Not just like every other day or every other hour, constantly. And what happens when you do that? Then you're still engaged in ordinary life. You're not on retreat all the time, obviously. And then a judgment comes up. Now this is not a business thing. This is about your inner world. So this isn't about business and engineering and things like that. That's another realm where uncertainty has a different function. But here it's just about the mind taking positions and getting caught up in views and opinions. And when you say this is uncertain, then at least that's what I find, like a judgment or whatever, this is uncertain. I've got some insight, this is uncertain. I don't know what I'm doing, this is uncertain. You are not nice, this is uncertain. You're great, this is uncertain. You keep breaking down the solidity of everything and you become very adaptable. Oh, it's like this. And it's uncertain, it's changing. And that's a very nebulous kind of practice because it's not solid. It's not like something you're getting, it's something you're sustaining. And that always takes you to the silence of the mind, to the space of the mind, to the emptiness of the mind. And that's really the key. It's not really it's not really about a lot of samadhi, it's about intelligence. That's all it is. It's just like that statement, mind going outside is the cause. There's that mind going outside is suffering. That's not samadhi, that's intelligence. You just see, it's not about objects. It's not about my experiences, not about that. It's about the knowing. Now it's the knowing. And really, it's more like the punchline of a joke. You get it or you don't. Someone tells you a joke and 4 people get it and 3 people don't. It's kind of like that. Because once you get it, then obviously the work is just to awaken. Not to become, not to get rid of, it's just to awaken. And then the whole contemplations around like the letting go of these 3 attachments that I find, like I use these 3 words: resistance, becoming, and preoccupation. I mean, they become so much a part of my ethos that I don't really have to repeat them. But if you do repeat them in the beginning, and then you see the cessation of preoccupation, well, that's nirodha. Your mind is preoccupied with some plan, and you don't really have to do it. You've done enough thinking, and then you notice, planning feels like this. That's the cessation, that's Third Noble Truth. And then you want to get something and go somewhere, becoming feels like this. That's the cessation of becoming. And then you resist the pain, maybe, right? Pain's in the arm, you say, may my arm be well and happy. That's a cessation of resistance. So you start to see the Third Noble Truth, not as some, final attainment. I see cessation and then kabang, it's all over. No, it's much more practical than that. Much more practical. Because by awakening to the way things are, right there, quite often there's cessation of self-view and so on. And then you're kind of struggling, you don't see it. Okay, what's the cause? What's the cause? Attachment to desire. What's it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. And then letting go. There's a constant letting go, letting down. So Lompo Same used to call it the gentle art of letting go. Rather than the vicious struggle with Mara, fighting Mara's hordes all night long, and give me a break. That happens sometimes, but it's much more subtle. And how much do you need, like letting go? How much effort do you need, really? Like, is it the effort to climb a mountain or swim across this lake? I noticed no one was swimming this time. Or, is it that kind of effort, or is it just like, just let go? When you notice there's a lot of fear in the mind, what is letting go? Is it like not having fear? No, it's just, fear is this way. You've let go actually into the fear in a way. So it's intelligent and subtle rather than willful and striving. And I mean, I did all of that. I did willfulness, I did striving, and it was a disaster. It brought me no happiness, no good results, and so on and so forth. And that was just because of ignorance. I didn't understand. That's the way I'd always function. You want something, you get it. You use willpower. You climb the mountain or swim across the lake or something like that. And then my teacher said, no, it's about awakening. And then it's about knowing suffering feels this way. Abandonment. What is suffering? You let go. So all that language starts to kind of percolate through your mind. Letting go, non-grasping, non-clinging, gentle art of letting go. That language starts to permeate your mind. When I started, what permeated my mind was attainment, becoming, and getting rid of. That's the only thing I knew. I only knew that if you don't like it, get rid of it. And if you want it, get it. Seems logical. How else would you operate in life? That's only for experience. But liberation is not an experience. It's a realization. It's not like hot or cold, good or bad, sweet or sour. It's a realization that takes you to the place that's always there, the silence of the mind. Again, with study, I said that earlier, can you deepen one aspect. So coming back to this idea of taking a theme, so on one of the, as I said earlier, I gave the Singapore group and friends who are on that Zoom session, I said, okay, you have homework for a year. At New Year's I said this. Your homework is to notice resistance. And I go, what do you mean by that? But if you take a theme like that and you kind of amplify it in what you'd like to observe, it becomes apparent that that's 1/3 of the work. It's the resistance to the way things are. And what a theme does, it takes you away from Sakkaya Ditthi, from personality view. It's not about my problems, it's just about the very nature of resistance to the way things are. So it's kind of more fundamental. It's about tanha, rather than my storyline, my problem, and I have to deal with that at some level. But this is much, much deeper, much deeper. It's just resistance. Resistance feels this way. So I asked people at the end of the year, and how was the homework? And some people had, forgotten it the next day, but which we do with homework. But some people actually stuck with it. I was quite pleased because they said, that's really helpful. And why was it helpful? Not just because that theme is there, but because you're now looking at your stream of consciousness through Dharma rather than through self. When you're always looking through the stream of consciousness self, I've just got an anger problem, I'm just terrible, oh God, I'm so lazy, I'm so sleepy. And so it's always me and mine, me and mine, me and mine. Whereas this is like the underlying core, an underlying cause of suffering, which is tanha, attachment to tanha. So again, the basic themes are anicca, dukkha, anatta. This is uncertain. It's not who I am, not me, not mine. And involvement with it will always be unsatisfactory. And that, what those three themes do, you can take 1, 2, or 3, all 3 or 2, that always brings you back to the mind which is Dhamma. Because the mind which is Dhamma is awareness of the way things are. And things are like that. It's not a Buddhist belief. If it's a Buddhist belief, it's not like I believe in anicca. It's not that. It's a constant realization of that and seeing of that. And that constancy then constantly takes you back to silence, to awareness, very, very naturally. So the peace of the mind is quite natural. The attachment to doubt is just thinking. It's just blah, 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 right? And it just goes on and on and on. So you cannot put an end to thinking by thinking. No? I had that insight as a layman. I remember I was in Amsterdam with slightly longer hair and different clothing. I was 21. I was sitting on, and I was already into kind of thinking too much. I was sitting in a canal or something, and I had this realization: you can't put an end to thinking by thinking. Well, it's so obvious, and yet we try to think our way out of thinking. So letting go of thought rather than finding an answer. Now you can't do that in the insurance business. You can't do that as an engineer. You can't do that as a cook. You have to use doubt, and you have to use thought, and you have to plan. This is different. This is finding the silence and space of the mind. It's not. So then your thinking mind is employed in a different way. It's employed in a way to not create more thoughts, but to let go of thoughts. Whereas self-thinking, I-thinking, ahankara mimankara always creates more thoughts. So then right thought is, may this pain in my hand be well. That's right thought. Or, this is what it feels like to not know what I'm doing. Or, this is what it feels like, what the hell was he talking about anyway? And it's true, you just come back, you keep coming back to that. That's it. So, you understand what I'm saying? This feels like, I understood. Or, I didn't have a clue what he's talking about. It's still awareness of the way things are. That's the beauty of it. And then, what do you trust in? What do you have faith in? You know, when we say, I have faith in Buddhism, what does that mean? Okay, you have faith in 5 precepts, good. You have faith in Dhamma, good, right? But at a level of the deeper meditative qualities, where does your mind settle naturally? What's the home ground? Where does it stay a while? Does it stay a while in the silence of not knowing? Because silence doesn't really, it's just like awareness. Just know, you don't have an idea. Or does it always need an answer and always thinking and analyzing and all of that? So I suggest, you can't put an end to thinking by thinking. It was very obvious. Now, having had that insight before I became a monk, it doesn't mean I could fulfill it. I still believed in thought. I still believed that the answer was in thinking and doubting and all of that. So I'd read difficult things. So I'd read really difficult things, and then I'd feel even more confused. So I'd read some kind of abstruse Dhamma commentary or Western philosophy, really, really difficult. I said, well, if I can figure this out, I'm going to be really smart. And then I can't figure it out, and I feel more stupid. And then just thinking even more. And then I realized, well, you're just torturing yourself. It's just some kind of... Because my father was an incredible thinker. So he'd say, when you've read more, you'll know more. That was the first mistake I made. So I thought, well, like you look, you get a library, right? You see all these books, and you think, oh, there must be one in there where there's the answer. So read. And then Lompo Cha says to me, wow, stop reading for 5 years. He said, you just got too much in there. Not quite that way, but he said, yeah, stop for 5 years. We couldn't do it. But fortunately, there were no books. There were no books, no English books. There were a few Thai books, and I even had someone somewhere got a English Pali dictionary, and I think I went to another monastery. I came back, and the termites ate it. The whole book was full of termites. Oh, my book. So, don't read for 5 years. And he was right. It's not like, there's lots of information in there, but there wasn't the application, right? So he had to suss out, because the Westerners were really very opinionated and had too many ideas. He said, now I have to unlearn all you people now. I have to unravel all the views and opinions you have on this. So then, how do you use knowledge? Well, you again, the idea of deepening, taking the Four Noble Truths, or just taking Vibhava Tanha, which is resistance, taking that for a year. What is Vibhava Tanha? Where is it in my life? What is resistance? And at first you don't really know, you just got a question, but then you start to notice. So your refinement of awareness becomes enhanced through Dhamma Vijaya, through this encouragement to actually look more carefully at stream of consciousness. Be more observant, just by making a suggestion of a theme. Might be Vibhava, so that was just Vibhava. Or just that idea of preoccupation around Kama Tanha. Because it is a good definition, I think, because sometimes, I'm not really, I don't have too much greed, but the preoccupation with the khandhas prevents you from realizing the asankata, the unconditioned. You're not available. So language like that, you just pop in like availability. You're on the metro, and you call it the metro in Toronto? Metro 2. You're on the metro, and you just say availability. And also in all your papanch is going on, blah, 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 and then availability. Sounds like this. And you keep doing that in little ways, and the whole structures of delusion start to break down more and more. And you notice the silence more and more. It's always there. It's always there. Even in the midst of noise. And then we do another retreat. You kind of get burned out. Oh God, I need another retreat. I have to do this again. Or whatever, you go to a monastery. But taking time away from the compulsions of your work and family, it's very important. Because you get caught in ruts. So you step out. So now what you have from this period of not being involved with your contemporary societies and that, with your work and your relationships, now when you go back into them, you'll see to some extent your reactions because you've stepped away from it. And that's really valuable. Not that you're not going to have those reactions. They're still part of your habitual makeup, but your reaction to someone at work or to a partner or to someone in your family, which is not skillful, you say, oh, yeah, there it is. Well, look at that. And then, that's where you can work on it. That's why that's one of the great benefits of retreats. You're stepping away. When you step back in, you see the complexities of your reactions. That's very, very valuable. For Daniel and I, we just go back to retreat. But we get it pretty good. Okay, so I'll leave that for your reflection tonight.
Annamaya namakataya sadhu karam dadamase. Sadhu, 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 anumodami.
Keep forgetting. Verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain before this and realize through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through the shadow may all desires and attachments cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana. In every kind of birth, may I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Aravam Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutan Bhagavantam Abhivadeni Sawakadwa Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namissami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sabbang Namami. forward teacher. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. So you're going to do some instruction there?
Yes, for tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.